Hi everyone, I wasn't able to find a video on this. What I'm going to do is do some writing on paper and then put it onto an acrylic painting. And I know people print stuff out of printers all the time and like that. So I'm going to, but I don't know if it's going to work. I want like handwritten stuff. So I'm going to try a test with a few different things here. I've got like just a regular ballpoint pen. And then I've got a real thin Sharpie pen. And then I've got a micron pen. And then I'm also going to try it with, I have two pens here. I'm just going to use the one ballpoint. And then I'm also going to try it with a Prismacolor. Because it would probably look okay in Prismacolor. The other thing I want to do, I want it in thin paper. I want it to look like a letter, you know, a written letter. And I know I could get something like this, you know, on a computer and print it out. But I want it to really be handwritten, and I want it to say some specific things. So ideally, I'm going to do it on a sheet of notebook paper. I'll probably like, you know, maybe ink it up or put some watercolor, different, you know, like it won't just be plain white like this. But and then I'm just got this plain old computer paper. This is probably like the generic brand from Office Max or whatever. But it's also, you know, it's a little thicker. It's not as transparent. It's a little thicker. And I'm going to try two different brands. I'm going to try good old Mod Podge. And then I'm also going to try some of the more high-end, which is the Liquitex Matte Medium. And so I'm going to do a test. I'm going to start with this paper first. So I'm going to write something out here, and I'm going to say, testing Bic pen. And then I'm going to skip a space, and I'm going to say, testing micron pen. Of course, it will dry. You know, it's gonna be a couple minutes here, so it's not like I'm doing it and then putting the stuff right on it. You know, and that's okay. And then I'm going to do a testing Sharpie pen. Okay, then I'm going to get a Prismacolor, and I'm going to write testing Prismacolor. I don't like the way that looks already, but we'll see. If it's the only thing that's going to work, then it's the only thing that's going to work. I guess I could do the same thing on the other. Let's do the same thing on the other. We'll try them both. Why not? I'm going to go ahead and just cut off the excess paper just to have a little bit of extra room here. So this is going to be the computer paper, and this is going to be the line paper, which is really what I want to use. I want it to look like letters, you know, like handwritten. It's going to be actually like handwritten letters. So hopefully, I hope this one's going to work. Okay, so I'm going to just pour a little bit of this out onto a paper plate. So we're going to try the, let's just try the Liquitex. Okay, so let's take some of our paint. It's not paint, it's matte medium. And let's go down the left side. The micron is definitely running. The micron is running a lot and distorting a lot. Okay, that's on the computer paper. Now let's do the same thing on the notebook paper. Let's do it like this. Now in this case, the micron did not run. The Prismacolor. Well, the Prismacolor looks crappy anyway. It's not what I want. But actually, I would say any of them are good. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and use the regular pen on paper because that's what I want it to look like anyway. And in both cases, on both the different types of paper, that has held up, you know, very well. There we go. I'm going to wipe that off before I put it back together. And just to make sure, I'm going to use a different brush too, just to make sure that there's no contamination. And then we're going to do the other side. And this, of course, is the Mod Podge. So we'll see how the Mod Podge stands up to, or the inks stand up to the Mod Podge. Okay, and again, on this side, I think everything is fine. I mean, it's a little wet right now. You can't see. And you can barely see how that micron ran on the first one, but it did run. And it looks, you know, it looks fine, except that actually the Sharpie may have bled a little bit here, but that just might be the brush marks. But in both cases, the Bic pen works great. That's going to be my go-to thing. Let me do, just to double check, it does look like it may be faded a little, or is that just because of the translucency? Yeah, I think that's just because the Mod Podge isn't dry yet. So in both cases, you know, I think any of them would probably work. The micron I would steer away from. Oh, there was a little bit of something on my hand there. You know, the micron I would steer away from because there was, you know, that little bit of running on there. And the Prismacolor, I think it was just kind of, you know, bled out a little bit to begin with, so it's probably not a good idea. But either the Sharpie or the Bic pen, and I mean, the Bic pen is what I would be after anyway, so looks pretty good. I feel like that would work fine. It's not going to bleed on, it wouldn't bleed on this paper even, which is what I really want to use it on. What I was thinking of doing if this didn't work out, see, this is kind of bubbling too. I don't know if that's, I may have to tape it down like you would a watercolor or something. But what I was thinking of, if this didn't work, I could just draw lines to make it look like lined paper, you know. And actually, how did the lines on the lined paper hold up? Yeah, it seems like they didn't bleed that much. A little bit on the bottom. Yeah, there is a little bleeding now that I see. There's a little bit of bleeding over on the edges over here. I mean, let me, how about we go like this? There's a little bit of bleeding on the edges over here. Right here, here, there. The lined paper is bleeding. Okay, everyone, I'm back. I wanted to let it dry and see, so I could really see what it looks like. Now, you know, for what I'm after, there's pros and cons to both, okay? I definitely am still, the pen is the best, the Bic pen. But if you look at the bleeding, I think that maybe it was just the way I applied it, but I don't think so. Because I applied the first one up and down, and I did get, you can barely see it now, but there was some bleed on the micron. But I think I got more bleed in the actual lines of the paper with the Mod Podge. But I think that the Mod Podge is clearer. There's sort of like a film, I don't know if you can really see it, but there's sort of like a film. It might be the blue ink that's in there, but it sort of has like a, I don't know how to, it almost looks like rice paper or something on the top of it, which is not what I want. I mean, if that's an effect that you were after, then, I mean, I'm really thinking I like the Mod Podge better. I'm going to look at this one too, man. There's more texture on this, but it still has that film. But there's more texture on this because I really globbed it on. There's even a big giant glob there. But it's got that, I mean, it might make it look kind of more high-end, but I'm using this for a multimedia project, and I don't want it to, I want it to dry clear. So I think I'm going to end up going with just the Mod Podge and not the higher-end stuff. And I'm definitely going with the Bic pen, 100% all the way. Why even mess around with, you know, trying to, some of these other things when the Bic pen for 99 cents works perfectly fine. Yeah, so, I mean, there is bleed. There is bleed on the actual lined paper. You can see it in different, but you can see it on this side too. So I think that that's going to be unavoidable, but I don't think like it's, unless I'm looking really close, like if you're just looking at it like this, you're not seeing that bleed in there. So if any of you are wondering about this, I couldn't find anything specifically addressing these issues. So I think it's going to be perfectly fine with this. I may try to like sort of stain or ink up the paper a little bit prior to make it look not so bright white, you know, prior to doing it, or maybe even blot it with some, you know, watercolors or something. But yeah, because I want it to look like old letters, you know, old handwritten letters, and I think that this is going to look really good for what I'm after. If you're after something different, then maybe it wouldn't work for you. And if you do want that rice paper, that's the best way I can describe it. It's almost like it's rice paper. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I don't like that. I definitely do not like that. And it's, you know, it's not really present in the cheaper stuff, the Mod Podge. So I'm going with the Mod Podge, Bic pen, notebook paper for the win. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. I hope I helped some of you out if you were interested in or wondering about this yourself. So thanks again. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye.